Hello and welcome to Season 3 of Meet the Drapers, Brand Accelerator. Every week, 3 entrepreneurs pitch their startups to the Drapers and a VIP guest judge. Every episode, the judges declare a winner to move on to the semifinals.
And the winner is...
But here's the twist. You, the viewer, can invest in any and all of these startups. Like a company? Go to meetthedrapers.com and invest in their live crowdfunding campaign, and you can bring them back for the season finale.
The crowd is voting in 3 of our finalists.
This is your shot to invest like a venture capitalist. Now, let's make some money.
Welcome back to Meet the Drapers. So glad you're here. This is going to be a great episode. Tim Draper with my father, Bill Draper, and my sister, Polly Draper, and we're ready to see a bunch of great entrepreneurs. But today we have a really extraordinary guest judge. Woo! Jack Hidary created Earthweb Dice, built it to an extraordinary business. He is now at Alphabet X, which was the old Google X, and Jack wrote this book, Quantum Computing: An Applied Approach. I think this is going to be a hot one, and actually I am going to go read this tonight, or maybe it'll take me about 3 weeks. It's pretty heavy and pretty deep. Jack, welcome to the show.
Tim, thanks.
You never know quite what's going to happen here on Meet the Drapers, but we're really glad to have you here.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about quantum computing or exponential technologies or something.
Oh,
hey.
Okay.
Wow, look who's here.
Hello.
Oh, my God. My son and your son. So this is Adam Draper. He runs Boost. It's an accelerator for sci-fi.
It is.
And this is Nat Wolf. He is a major famous actor. And Nat, what are the things they should watch that you're in?
I'm a major famous actor. You should watch Paper Town and
Fault in Our Stars.
And I have a new movie coming out called Semper Fi that everyone should go see because it's really amazing. Yeah, and I'm Adam, and I am the founder of Boost, which does a lot of work for the oceans. We want to save the oceans and Bitcoin. Okay.
So what you've just seen
is them trading personality.
Reversal. We have a weird, wild family. And hey, guys, we were just in the middle of asking Jack about exponential technologies and quantum computing, and I do want to hear about this.
For 30 years, Richard Feynman, Paul Benioff, and others had the vision back in the 80s to build a new kind of computing platform that would be very different and do things that even our best supercomputers in the world can't do today.
Wow.
But in the last 2-3 years, this vision, this 30-40-year vision, finally is coming to fruition, where a number of different labs and companies around the world have actually built primitive but actual quantum computers. And that's why I wanted to write the book now, because people are asking, okay, great that they exist, how do I use it? How do I code for it? How do I make it do something useful in life? An example would be batteries. Daimler said, hey, we want to make an electric vehicle car with a battery that goes long distance, it doesn't cost very much. We can use a quantum computer to optimize the thousands of possibilities of materials to make a better EV battery. The cool thing about quantum computing that's different than almost every other previous rollout of technology, it's starting native on the cloud. No one's going to buy a quantum computer. Let me give advice to the audience now. Please don't buy a quantum computer, okay? You're going to access it over the cloud. So anywhere you are, a student in Mumbai or
perfect, because
a kid
millennials
anywhere,
rent.
it's going to really have a great impact because it's going to be distributed right off the bat. Not in the province of a few companies that have billions of dollars that are going to keep it closed. It's going to be open right off the bat. By the way, it's great to see the whole family working together. In my own family, we have a tradition of all working together. My father and his brothers, my grandfather and his siblings.
Oh,
so this is awesome to see this. We want to see more of this.
Quickly, Adam, tell me what's getting you excited about oceans.
Well, that's a long story. I love the ocean. So it was a short story.
Okay, we're good. Let's bring on our next entrepreneurs. We'll bring on our first entrepreneur, and it looks like we got, what, 5, 6 judges.
It's a short story.
Don Stein, and the company's called Teooh. All I ever wanted growing up was to meet people that lived in Silicon Valley, but because I was living 6 hours away, there was really no way for me to do that. Everyone needs to meet people that can help their lives, their social lives, their career, and there's just not really a great way to do that online. What we've done is build a platform that allows anyone in the world to turn themselves into an avatar and then attend virtual events. I did Draper University in 2015. 5 years later, Tim still thinks of me and invites me to things. The problem that we're solving is felt by hundreds of millions of people. We see people creating friends that live on the other side of the world, all from using our platform.
So our first contestant today hails from Draper University. Don, give us your pitch.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. And thank you for starting Draper University. That changed my life. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, so I didn't really have much of a network. By doing Draper University, not only was I able to meet the right people, but I was able to raise, millions of dollars to start a company that I wanted to start.
I got into VC by combining some of my VC passion with my other passion, virtual reality.
The company that came out of Draper University was a venture fund for virtual reality and augmented reality. And so what I decided to do was take the expertise that I had built over the 4 years of running the venture fund and take kind of my need and my desire that I had as a person to meet people that live all over the world and combine the two to create a platform where anyone in the world can host a virtual event. You download our app, it's for a VR headset, a mobile phone, or for a computer, and then you create a character that looks exactly like yourself.
Just to tell the viewing audience, I got to do this in a room of avatars, but since each one is sort of tailored to look a little different, it feels as though you're actually speaking to a group.
The one that we hosted together was the DU alumni reunion. We actually had people from 12 different countries. Tim was able to literally move around from table to table and say hi to his students that he hadn't seen in potentially years.
Talk or text?
Talk and text.
You're mostly talking, and everyone can speak,
This
and
would be
everyone
Tim
can.
on stage. You can see there's the fireside chat behind him. And he's looking out into the audience. This was full of avatars, little characters.
He's got a bald spot.
Well, hey, take a look.
And so from the perspective, you can actually talk to the people that are sitting at your table as
How
well.
do you pronounce the name of the company and why?
Teooh.
Why Teooh?
Turning event organizations on their head. It's also a word that can be spoken in many different languages and doesn't mean anything to anybody. So that was kind of my blank canvas to paint with.
When you look at social networks, the reason why they go from just being, a handful of people to really taking off and really becoming super sticky
Network effect.
is usually just one or two killer applications. I'll give you an example, LinkedIn. Recruiters around the world in any company pay extra money because they get access to poaching people from other companies. When you look at your platform, yes, you can use it generally to attend kind of some virtual event, but what's like a specific use case that kind of stands out?
It's very clearly networking. When you think about a webinar, Tim would give a presentation to 1,000 people that are in the audience. They would all sign off as soon as Tim signs off because there's nothing to do after that. What we've seen is that people are hanging around for sometimes an hour plus after the speaker leaves, just literally talking to each other, to the point where we've actually had to go in there and shut down events because it cost us money to run. In certain events, people are staying for 2 hours. I don't remember the last app I used for 2 hours straight. That's pretty magical. My dad's attended every single one of these virtual events so far.
That's a dedicated father.
That's dedicated. Yeah, awesome. He came to Tim's event on Monday, and he stayed after, and he met someone who's based in the UK named Sienna. And so she and my dad had a long conversation, and then my dad came to the event on Friday. And so after the event ended, my dad called me, and he said, what was the coolest part about that entire event? Sienna found me and said, oh, how's your week been? And so now we're building social features that allow you to add friends.
Do you have to look the way you look in real life? Can you change the way you look like the way you can do with the we?
That's, complete creativity and up to you. What is important to me is that you hook up your Twitter and your LinkedIn and your profiles with that avatar so that I know who I'm talking to. In 2007, there was a similar product called Second Life. Where they went wrong was they allowed anyone to be anyone with no real limits. Creepy guys were just invading this platform.
How are you making money?
What I want to do is start to work with Tom's Shoes so that Tom's pays us the ability to create a virtual Tom shoe.
Why aren't you just charging for the conference?
I'm going for a consumer play, so it's more important that we have users.
More of them going on.
Yeah, so we can actually monetize the appeal and the look of these characters. So I heard you talk about you wanted a Bitcoin tie, $4.99, and you can have that Bitcoin tie.
$499,000.
Yeah.
Do you need VR to be in there?
It all works in a headset, but it's not something we're rolling out for another year because the market's not quite there yet. But it's my passion, and that's for sure what we're building the bridge to. Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Tell us about more like the entertainment aspect. Let's say, for example, music concerts, things like that, entertainment.
That's all definitely on the roadmap. What we've figured out we do best right now is 20-person to 100-person monthly events from communities that are distributed. So Draper University alumni, fantastic example. Startup Grind, fantastic example. They have 2 million entrepreneurs that live all across the world. They have no way to bring them together.
Are you going to work with the Zooms and WebExes of the world, kind of in coordination with them in terms of they often blast out the core speech, but you could kind of be the second piece of that, the interaction piece?
So one of the really cool opportunities is our ability to have a live stream happen inside of our virtual environments. Just like how this appears, we have a virtual screen in our...
So that can be the WebEx or Zoom, and then you guys have the interaction part.
Exactly.
Where's the technology stack right now?
Yeah, so the team has worked together for 4 years prior to this, building avatar and virtual worlds and virtual reality apps. We are headed on the direction of being able to do events that are 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 avatars at a time.
What did you do with the venture business?
So I still manage the portfolio. Just had our first company pass a $100 million valuation.
Where'd you go to school?
Indiana University. I was the first Stein in my family that was going to get a college degree, so I did it for my dad. From there, I moved to San Francisco. Nobody would give me a job in venture, and so what I did was I would sleep on any person's couch that I could find because I didn't have an income, and anything that I could do to meet people, I would go to an event and just put my hand out there and shake somebody's hand. Basically just started building my network before ending up at Teooh.
Thanks.
Terrific.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Tom. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Terrific.
Thank
Great.
you.
Great to meet you.
Thank you very much. Cool to be in the room with Bill. He's literally one of the people that started Silicon Valley, so it's really cool to see him and have him ask questions. You know, the companies that can scale the quickest are typically the riskiest, but they lead to the largest returns. Putting a very small percentage of your net worth into this is interesting because that potentially could then become 5 or 10% of your net worth. Our investors are the people that were really early into Snapchat, early into WAG, which are, you know, both multi-billion-dollar companies. The opportunity here is that we could be a part of a rocket ship that's really exciting.
So, what did everybody think of Teooh? Jack, why don't we start with you?
If I were on the board of Teooh, what I would do is recommend to Don to actually shift gears and go actually more for the enterprise market. Every enterprise I know is using Zoom or WebEx or other kinds of enterprise class video conference systems. What I liked about his final answer to that question of how can you work with those things is to have that virtual screen inside the Teooh. Then you get to the interactive part. That's where Zoom and WebEx fall down.
Polly, what'd you think?
I feel sort of unqualified in this one. It seems super cool to do it once, but I've never conducted a meeting, a big meeting of people from all over the world or the country.
Think of you're on stage, and all those people in the audience are live to you.
And they could be all over the world.
And then they can meet each other and actually become their own community. That's the thing. That's what's missing today.
Nat, what'd you think?
I mean, I also feel pretty not that qualified to answer about it. All I know is that when I've done Instagram live videos where I'll play music with Alex, my brother, and people will comment, you always do get some real psychos. Who are saying some really crazy stuff.
Because they're not themselves, because they're the avatar.
Yeah,
they
people
feel
have this
emboldened
They
to
can
hide.
behind
bad behavior.
This brought down Second Life.
It's smart to go for identity, though.
Yeah,
because
identity
that
is critical.
Second Life thing won't happen because we're going to know it's you.
Yeah. But everyone that in this thing should be invited in, just like a WebEx.
Right, there's just a lot of crazy people out there, and so when you get on the internet,
but doesn't that make it much more interesting?
Adam, what do you think?
I think I'm overqualified to answer this.
I think you are. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
So I always look at the entrepreneur. I have seen 5 straight years of like his obsession for this industry to connect. This actually is a good embodiment of his brand.
I thought this would be pretty hard to pull off, so I'm interested in what you said. you know him and you know that he's got the quality to stick with it.
Stick with it.
That would be my biggest question.
When I did it, it didn't feel like anything I'd ever done before. It was really kind of fun. And it changed, and everybody saw it from their own point of view.
The dynamic changed, yeah.
And the dynamic changes, and you could do some really interesting things with a consumer. Google was created with a lot less than $100 million. But you're right, Zoom, monster success.
I think that WebEx and Zoom might be open to partnership on this.
That's what we thought of Teooh. Now, let's bring on our next entrepreneur. But first, let's see what's going on behind the scenes. And everybody's eyebrows, if you could just do this.
My name is Eric Osuna, and I'm the CEO and founder of LatinLive. So Latinx is a new term for Hispanics in the US. We're a $2.3 trillion footprint on the US economy, and we're a blind spot right now. There's nobody investing in this demographic. Basically what we do is we employ influencers and content to be able to influence decisions. We've been around for about 4 years. I think this is another step in validating our business model. That's what we're here for.
We've got our next entrepreneur up here, and it's LatinLive. Please give us your pitch.
So LatinLive is a Latinx grassroots, peer-to-peer, enterprise, in-market marketing tool for advertisers.
Can you make that a little shorter?
It's a peer-to-peer tool for marketers. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was a VP at a major media company before I started LatinLive, and I saw that there was a massive shift happening, eyeballs and money moving from traditional media to mobile. But there was nobody in the Latinx space to take all the money and the eyeballs that were moving. So I decided to start LatinLive. Companies like Toyota, Macy's, they love and have validated our business model.
Are they paying?
They're paying customers.
So what are they using it for?
They're using it to influence decisions in the marketplace.
So people join a community, and then you have the brands coming in to that same community.
Correct.
And what attracts Latinx people to the community in the first place? Why do they join?
So I'll give you a use case, because this is probably the easiest way to understand. So Macy's came to us 2 years ago, and they said, look, we're frustrated because we need 500 quinceañera girls, so these are 15-year-old girls, to show up at a Macy's store in McAllen, Texas. And they couldn't do it through TV, they couldn't do it through radio, so they reached out to us, we partnered with them, and we got 500 girls to show up.
And how much do you get paid for something like that?
It's about $5,000.
But you haven't answered the question, how you do it.
We have these content curators locally influence girls, and those girls influence other girls.
This is the rave model. There's a party at the warehouse.
Right. Yeah. So we have a syndicate of 5,000 influencers, micro-influencers right now that we want to grow to 10,000 and more that we can activate.
But Eric, you're doing through social media today? Like, is that how you're getting to the community?
So we're utilizing traditional social media platforms. We also have our own platform ourselves, which has 2.7 million users.
But how did those 2.7 million people come? What were they coming for?
So we also have a way to develop content that is aggregated, user-generated, and contributor-generated.
Geared for the Latinx market?
Geared for the Latinx market.
Is there somehow a network effect so those 500 quinceañera girls all now know about you, and then they might sign up for another thing to happen?
That's right. We have a user acquisition model for the micro-influencers that right now is automatic.
Do they get paid?
They get paid.
And that $5,000 you got from Macy's, how much of that went to the influencer?
It's about a 30% margin on the business.
You get 30%.
Yeah.
To really get big in this space, it's not just pitching Macy's. That's a great one-off kind of thing. You have to be written in to the marketing plan that WPP or any one of their competitors writes for Procter & Gamble. And you need a line item for you of $10 million, $20 million for LatinLive. So is that starting to happen yet, or?
So we're getting ready to do that. We want to fundraise basically this next portion of the growth, and that's part of the reason that we're here today. So
how much money has gone into it so far?
So we have $1 million in revenue from $150,000 in investment. We need $1 million to get to $3 million in revenue. At $3 million, we can do a Series A, and I'd like to do an $11 million raise at that point.
Eric, tell us about your team. What experience do they have?
So the majority of our folks are in Mexico City, And they come mostly from tech and marketing.
But the 2+ million people you have in LatinLive, they're US based?
Mostly US based. And most of our business comes from the US, but we do have clients in Canada and Mexico.
Why do you care about this? Why are you dedicating your life to it?
I'm super passionate about it because I know, first of all, the amount of money that's just sitting there. It's a $2.3 trillion consumer that is completely underserved. I'm very passionate about this demographic because I know that they overconsume, they over-index everything, and it's a beautiful demographic to target.
It is a huge market. Other people are aware of that. What do you see happening out in the marketplace that either is competitive or maybe complementary?
So there is a direct competitor, which is Teooh out of Los Angeles, and they launched about 5 years ago. They raised about $70 million so far, and I think their go-to-market strategy was way off.
Why? What was wrong with it?
A big part of it is that they didn't curate users. There's another company out of New York called Remezcla, which is more traditional content-heavy platform. That's it.
What did you do before this?
So I was the vice president and market manager for Spanish Broadcasting Systems. We ran media properties in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. But before that, I ran all of national for Univision.
Well, terrific. Thank you so much for being on Meet the Drapers.
You're very welcome.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Eric. Thanks a lot.
You know, I thought I was going to be a little bit more nervous than I was. I felt totally comfortable. You know, one question that I got from Tim that I never get from investors, basically, why are you doing this? To me, that's super important because that's going to drive a lot of the momentum in the company. I think this is the biggest blind spot, at least in the US market, and marketers really want this. You know, just talking to my clients, they really want something like this. This platform is ready to scale. And with the right investment, we can scale quickly.
So what did everybody think of LatinLive? Dad, what did you think?
Well, I liked it. The clients that he's got, Macy's, Ford, so on, it sounded like they came to him. I'm always impressed when names like that really know you're even around.
I feel like he has a market, and he knows that this market's huge. When he said his one-liner, it's like enterprise, social, influencer, and something else.
It was just gobbledygook.
It was gobbledygook, right?
Peer-to-peer
and so,
marketing.
Then peer-to-peer. Oh my God, over the last 10 years, he picked every word, one a year.
Every word has ever been used in marketing.
That was basically all he was telling us. I didn't feel like he was getting into the
product
of what he would do. And it was all sort of like on a need-to-know basis. Tim says, why did you get into this? And he goes, I love the Latin market because they love to overspend.
Yeah, overspend.
That was their that was his reason.
Good of the world.
Yeah.
No, it was because there's $2 trillion here.
Yeah, there's.
Which is,
yeah, but if those are your customers, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think the answer was okay.
Tim, I'm very concerned about this company. Yes, they picked a demographic that is a very solid core demographic that is growing. That doesn't mean that every company that's going after it is a great company. My concern is you have to be authentic if you're going to be a community-based operation. And that's what concerns me right here. I think that he's onto something in terms of focusing on the Latinx market, but you want to be organically from the community and building from within the community. And that's a big piece that's missing right now.
Good, let's bring on our next contestant. But before we do, let's see what's going on behind the scenes.
I'm Sam Bogosh, CEO of Axel AI.
I'm Patrice Gutebel, Product Manager for Axel AI.
We do software that lets media teams search and manage all the video that they shoot. One of our customers is a major sports venue.
They literally had piles of hard drive stuck in duffel bags, and they had to wonder which duffel bag do I need to open to find drive X or Y, and that's where Axel fits in.
It seems like a really great chance for us to put our story out there and hear their feedback, so it's not something you get to do every day, and we think that's pretty neat.
Welcome to Meet the Drapers. Give us your pitch.
We're Axel AI, and our software makes it radically simple for media teams to search and manage their video. We have tons of high-end customers, big brands, people like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Madison Square Garden, Patagonia. We even have things like churches and 2 of the leading political campaigns for president this year.
This is for their internal video storehouse.
Correct.
Of videos that they make for ads, commercials, corporate videos, all that stuff.
Yep.
You want to help organize and search that.
Exactly. And this used to be kind of a niche thing only for big broadcasters because nobody else shot enough video. But I suspect video's kind of eating the world at this point. It's like 80% of the bandwidth on the internet. It's more than 20% of the storage that people buy is just to house video. But the actual act of editing the video is really like living in a cave. You basically have to hunt around for that right clip. You might or might not remember what it was called, when it was shot. One of our biggest customers, the first time I visited them, they were literally...
If you don't know those things, how do you do the search?
We do that because we apply AI to analyze the content.
The users and that company does not have to tag their videos for this to work.
Exactly.
The whole point of the AI is that you can now search the videos
Correct.
based on the fact that you already went with ML, with machine learning, through the videos
Correct.
and said, there's a lot of fire trucks in here. So if I do a search for video with fire truck, bingo, it comes up, even though the words fire truck
do not appear.
were never semantically tagged
Correct.
to the video.
Briefly, you log in, you see on your left side the folders. At the top, you have the search engine. You can play the clip. On the right side, you have your user tags. Underneath, AI entries where you can see what appears in a video and when. You can also find who is in it and what they say.
A lot of what we're doing is licensing engines and leveraging open source to build this, so it gets a lot more powerful every 6 or 12 months, and the costs come down very rapidly as well.
It is evolving very fast, and it all depends on the model you have in the end. You can have a model that will just tell you it's a cat, it's a dog, or you can have a model that is specifically trained to tell you what kind of breed you have. This is a Maine Coon, this is a German Shepherd, this is a Yorkshire, and so on.
What's your hope for revenue per year? Is it going to be a $50,000 sell, a $500,000 sell? Like what range?
More like 50. Because we were bootstrapped, we were actually prioritizing upfront revenue and perpetual license sales. As our AI gets more powerful, we think it's going to be a bigger and bigger part of our mix. And this version of the software that we're coming out with next year is actually going to be freemium. So you can just load it on a laptop. You don't have to have a dedicated server.
And why do you guys care about this?
I was in software for creative teams, first as a system integrator. Then I spent 5 years heading up product management at Avid in their workgroup software. And we grew that business from 17 million the year I joined to 55 million 5 years later. But it was all selling to these big broadcasters, and that's kind of a zero-sum game. The broadcast industry is not really growing or changing that fast. All the growth is coming up in these alternate sources of video, all the stuff that's happening on the web. That's basically why Patrice and I started Axel in 2012.
How do you divide up your time, the two of you?
I'm more the business guy. I'm out pitching to customers.
And why do you need him?
Oh, because he does all the real work.
I am the product manager. I'm more actually on the technical side. I make the stuff happen, managing all our coders that are located in Eastern Europe, also support and deployment and everything. So I'm more like the tech side.
The key person that we really want to add is a marketing person full-time. The big challenge for us in the next year is really to get the word out that this is even possible and cost-effective, and that's largely a marketing challenge.
You said you did something for 2 presidential campaigns.
Yes.
What did you do?
It used to be that in politics you put out like a position paper, right? And people would just receive it and that was that. Now it's this constant give and take on social media where somebody says, oh, I don't even think your candidate has a good position on Syria. And then they have to search through all the town hall meetings that they did
that's so
to say,
smart.
oh, here's our position on Syria.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's a good application.
The speed
That's
of
awesome.
response and the agility of that response
Live,
is like,
real time.
and you either get that right or you're not a good candidate.
How do we know this is good?
It
Does
depends
work?
on the model.
Because there are thousands of people out doing all sorts of different versions of
Here's
this
the thing.
kind of thing.
Algorithmically, there are. Where we think our value is actually where the rubber meets the road, the customers using the software. We actually license from a lot of these people developing cool algorithms. We just licensed one that does sports highlights.
Yeah.
So we baked that into our stuff. We didn't develop it ourselves, but the companies are all looking for distribution and ways to reach the customers. What we're doing is solving the problem for the customer.
But you started the company in 2012.
Right.
And it's now 2019, soon to be 2020.
Sure.
What happened in 2012, 2013, 2014?
AI was not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the tagging was manual for the first 5 years we were in business.
Yeah.
People literally had to hire interns to do this. They did it anyway. It was worth it, but it definitely was not like ready for prime time in the way that it is now with AI. So that's where we.
So when you started, actually, it wasn't really AI driven.
That's right.
Okay, got it.
So what you're going to do is you're going to get that customer and grab them and hold them.
Right, and give them basically the benefit of all this competition on the algorithmic side. The pricing is dropping rapidly, the capabilities are rising rapidly. In fact, our next slide kind of highlights that. So not only are the number of teams doing this expected to double in the next 5 years, but if you look at the cost curve, it's plummeting. And so we can go to people and say, you didn't even think you could do this, but you can take those 300 petabytes of stuff, analyze them, and have them searchable right away.
Long term, though, you're at your customer's mercy.
Isn't everybody?
Yeah, well, except, but I mean, you could get squeezed down, like these media companies could just keep turning the screws on you instead of somehow having some control over the end user. All the biggest businesses in the world have access to a big group of end users.
Well, and that's where we're going next year with this AX1 product. It's essentially a freestanding version of this. Right now, we need a server, either on-prem or in the cloud, and so there's a limited pool of people who are willing to deploy a server and set all this up. But the new AX1 stuff will just run on any Mac laptop. You can just load the software, it's freemium priced, and we're going to capture a much larger swath of the market, and then as people grow and form teams, they'll naturally migrate to our teams.
Well, thank you so much for being on Meet the Drapers.
Thank you so much.
Great having you here.
Great meeting you.
Thank you, Tim.
Terrific. Okay.
Oh, and we never handed out the iPads, actually. One last thing.
Free iPad?
Fantastic. No, but just,
everyone gets an iPad.
No, but just, we actually ran it on an old episode of Meet the Drapers. And so you can, if you scroll down, you can see the transcript of what you guys are saying.
My dad works for me, too.
My dad works for me, too. It works pretty well, right? Yeah. They do a lot of work, and they just, you know, they don't expect too much.
Paid.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
It was great, actually. I think we did a very decent job.
Yeah, we had a blast. I think the interactions with the panel were really fun, and they had a lot of really good questions. The questions from Tim about, you know, how big can this get? We think that video is huge, and that the application of AI to video is also going to get huge. His concern is, you know, that could commoditize and you get smushed. Obviously, what we do every day is work to make our products better and reach more customers, so that doesn't happen. But we're in a business where you have to earn it, and it's always nice to think that there would be a business where, you know, you just print money and unicorns and rainbows.
That's called the Federal Reserve.
Well, they get to do that, it's true, yes. I think short of that, we felt it was really positive. Great show.
So what did you all think of Axle AI?
Well, Tim, clearly this is a huge need. The amount of video is growing exponentially. So you asked about exponential technologies earlier in the show. This is exponential content. The challenge, I think, with this company is commoditization. They're not creating their own technology. That was my #1 concern when he said they're aggregating other technologies. It's hard if you don't have a competitive advantage in the technology itself.
Just the number of customers that are household names leads me to believe there is a big need for this. This is just the beginning. I think this is going to be my favorite.
As a failed film editor turned venture capitalist, I definitely understand this need, and I constantly run into it where I want to make like a celebrity reel of people saying the word boost. I can't do that unless I just filter through trillions of videos.
Okay, I think we should all just say boost. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Boost. Now I at least have quick clips. I definitely have the concern of the technology's not theirs. They're saying we're an interface for everyone else's technology and we're going to control the customer. And as of now, they've pulled it off. We'll see.
I think it's going to be huge. I think it's great. I know how much time people spend combing through footage to make reels, and it's a painstaking process. This will take all that work out of it, and it sounds great.
Yeah, and when he showed us on those iPads that just from the conversation that we'd had today, they were able to pull
those from a previous
episode. Previous episodes.
That would be magic.
Yeah, this episode. Can you tell me what I'm going to say?
I was even more impressed.
What they're doing is they're going after all these big companies. If you think that CBS and Paramount are going to allow them to have any kind of control, it's not going to happen, and they're going to get their screws turned. Now, if they go consumer, they'll have that end user, and when you have the end user, you can grow to be a big, huge business. But again, consumer costs a lot of money to get there. Now, the time comes I'm going to need all of your help. Tell the crystal ball, do we move Teooh, LatinLive, or Axle AI to the semifinals? The other two that aren't picked, they still can be moved to the semifinals by our viewing audience.
I think Teooh is the most different in terms of, something novel in the marketplace. My number one knock against them is that they're going after the consumer. If they agreed to go enterprise first, then I'd recommend funding them.
Polly, what's your favorite?
Number 3. I just saw it as more useful.
You do have a lot of video back there.
Yeah.
Nat, how about you?
I think I'm going to go with Axle AI too, because they seem like they've been in this world a long time and seem pretty tested. The passion seemed there, and then it was an idea that I could really understand.
So I love Don Stein, so I would probably pick founder base, Teooh. But I also love that Axle AI has been grinding it out, and now because AI is good enough, they can actually accomplish this. So it's two-way tie.
And Dad, what do you think?
I think Axle AI is my favorite. It seems to have the biggest future. They've made very good progress. The quality of the customers they've got and the potential of growing inside each of those customers is big. I think it's AI.
Let's bring in the contestants. I will go to the crystal ball and I'll come up with some answer that might have something to do with what all the judges brought to me today. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. The way this is going to work is one team will be chosen by the crystal ball, and the crystal ball will determine who will move to the semifinals. That team will get the option to take a $10,000 investment and a $20,000 investment from the brand group. The other two groups might also move forward because the viewers have the opportunity to move you toward the finals. So this could go in a number of different ways. So the judges have had their feedback. It's all gone into the crystal ball. And I'm just going to have to, well, before I do that, I want to kind of go through each. LatinLive, I like how it could move virally. I liked how it could spread. I like that you have a new method of marketing that a lot of people hadn't really thought about. I'm a little concerned about doing it just for the money, and I'm not sure that you won't burn out the celebrity, the one who attracts all those people. So upside, downside. Axle AI, clearly you two know exactly what you're doing. You've built relationships with all these customers, and now you finally got technology you can bring to them that'll open their eyes. My concern there is that you don't have proprietary technology that you own and can grow and build on. Unless you do move to the end user, you're not going to have end user control. And without end user control, then the option of becoming the $100 billion business is probably out of the market for you. And then Teooh, totally love your passion, love the fact that you are so dedicated to this marketplace and have been for all this time. You know VR, something's going to happen. It's clearly the weirdest. It's a long shot because people don't really know about it yet. They don't know how it's going to work or where it's going to go. Now, given that, let's go to the crystal ball. Eeny, meeny, is it Teooh, LatinLive, Axle AI? It's Teooh. I just want you to know it was conflicted.
It was a really tough.
It was a tough decision. It was very tight. Basically, I think the crystal ball went for the unknown upside, that it could go in any number of different ways, whereas these two were more consistent. You all have incredible futures. This is going to be really extraordinary.
We all agree with that.
Good. You're in. Oh. Good. So, see us next week on Meet the Drapers!
When Satoshi Nakamoto made a token.
We would like to make you an honorary Draper.
Draper.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
You're the most intellectual of our entire family.
Welcome, Jack.
It's great. No, it's really great how you guys do this together. I love it. I love it.
Would your avatar be bald, do you think? Or
I think my avatar, I would actually want to choose like a cheetah or a jaguar or something like that. Like, imagine you get up to speak and suddenly you see like a puma in the audience.
That'd
like,
be great.
That's kind of cool.
Or a puma speaking on stage.
Yeah, there you go.
Cluster unclaimed. World is right, Baker, Shock,